Guys, Daryl Shergan, Quest for Vape here, showing you something old but new. This is the Crown tank. Yeah, there's nothing new about the Crown tank. This has been out since April. However, the Crown tank now comes in black as well as stainless steel, and I'm excited about that. Look at this bad boy. So I just got this shipped to me by the company because they love me. And I'm excited. I heard that this was coming out. Look at that. Just look at that. How nice that is. It says right there, Uwell Crown. All right, they sent me one with the 0.25 coil, the 0.5, and also the nickel 0.15 coil. If you're not familiar with the Crown, this is the one with the nice bottom airflow that clicks. It's even more clicky than I think my first one. All right, it's got that knurling over here, and it's also top fill. Okay, that's how you fill the Crown tank, from the top, just like that. Love this tank. This is my favorite Subohm tank so far. It has not been trumped. I have plenty of others that I use and that I try and that I review. This is still my favorite tank. 4 milliliter capacity, top fill, great flavor. On the 0.25 coils, you can vape this all the way up to 120 watts with no dry hits. I'm going to show you guys something about priming the coil and breaking in the coil. Also, and I have a video out on the Crown tank, and I also have a video on the rebuild RBA deck. I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute also. When it comes to breaking in the coils, I get asked this a lot, Daryl, how do you break in the coils? Look at these coils. They're big. That's a very, very thick layer of Japanese organic cotton in there. It's packed very, very densely in there. So you've got to prime these coils patiently. Hold it at a 45-degree angle. Let that juice sit on there. All right? Don't hold it straight up and down vertically. It'll just drip to the bottom there, the airflow, and then you'll have juice gurgling. But just put it on there at an angle, and it'll soak in. And you know what I used to do? I used to put it on the outside on these wicking holes, but I don't do that anymore because somebody told me, no, that's how you know when it's thoroughly saturated inside. It takes a lot of juice to saturate this cotton, especially for the first time. That cotton is packed in there very, very densely, and it needs a little while to soak in. When you start seeing, I'm sorry, I'm doing this back here. I'm just holding it at an angle. I keep applying the juice on the top here, and it's soaking in. All right, so you get the idea. It's hard to do over here on camera. When you start to see the juice saturate the cotton through those holes, that's when you know it's thoroughly saturated on the inside through and through. So people will put a little bit of dab of juice on the top, they'll put a dab of juice on the holes, they'll slap it on their mod, and they start firing away, and then they get burnt hits, and then they complain that the flavor tastes bad. They didn't listen. Be patient when you're breaking these coils in the first time. This cotton has been packed in there, and it's been sitting for a little while, and it's just not going to soak up all that juice immediately. So be patient with it. Every time I keep applying more juice, it just keeps absorbing in. But again, it's not an immediate thing. It doesn't just soak right in and you're good to go. So all right, so that's what you want to do. Then you want to fill that tank. You want to let it sit. All right, you can fill it bottom fill. Look at those nice big fill holes. Let the juice sit there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Be patient. Don't just start cranking this sucker. I know you're excited when you get this out of the box. You're like a high school kid at prom, just trying to get your date out of the wrapper. All right. We're all over 18, so I can talk that way. I didn't offend anybody, I hope. I'm just filling it, bottom fill right now. and I'm going to talk about the RBA while I let this patiently wick. And then I'm going to show you how I break in a new crown tank coil. So bottom filling it doesn't fill it all the way to the top. There's still a good, I could get a couple more milliliters of juice in there. All right, why don't I go ahead and do that? Right now the coil is in there and it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's wicking for the first time. And I'm being patient with it. And I'm allowing it to wick. These coils last for like 2 to 3 weeks, so be patient in the beginning and you'll have a nice coil that'll last you a couple of thousand hits. Be impatient and you'll suffer. So I just fill it to the top, right to where it's hitting that metal cross piece there. Don't overfill it. That's all. That's all. Close the airflow when you're filling it. I didn't just now. It's not the worst thing in the world if you forget, but general habit, close that airflow. If you tilt it to the side, you can see air bubbles escaping. You play the air bubble game. That's how you know, really know it's wicking. All right, I'm going to leave this right here on my mod. Got the new 150, Sigali 150 temperature control. If you haven't seen that, well, now you've seen it. It's very sexy. I'm enjoying it. Show you what else comes in this box: an extra Pyrex sleeve and 2 other coils. I have a 0.5 ohm coil and a nickel coil, and I want to show you the nickel coil is clearly labeled. If my camera would focus. Won't focus, but sorry. It's clearly labeled Ni200 0.15 ohm. That's nickel. You do not vape that on anything other than temperature control. Don't put this in that tank and fire that up on a non-temperature control mod. You're not supposed to vape nickel that way. I have another video on that. The RBA I want to show you. You've seen it. I have a video on it. People are telling me, Daryl, it doesn't wick right. It wicks just fine. You have to wick it correctly. See if I can do this on camera. So this is the RBA section, and yeah, it's snug in there. All right. This doesn't screw down. It's just, oh, look at that. It came already pre-built with a coil in there. That's so nice. My first ones did not. All right. So you see, do I have to do this? That's how you build it. All right. The trick to wicking here is leave your legs of the wick long. I'll do another video on this. Do you see where this wicks in from? These juice slots right here, there's one, and there's an equal sized one on the other side. There's 2 juice wicking slots. You have to have cotton in front of those, a lot of it. You're not going to get away with just snipping K-Fun style on either side of the coil. You have to pass that wick through the coil and leave those legs long, tuck them down on either side. Think about it this way. You want to block those holes with cotton. So don't just leave the cotton sticking straight out to hit the sides here. You actually have to leave enough to tuck them down in front and block those wide juice channels. So people will, you know, twist up their wicks, put it through, clip it, and then that's it. And that was good for K-Fun, but that's not good enough for this. K-Fun's had very small juice channels. These have a nice wide juice slot, and there's no channel. It goes right into the chamber. So you have to really leave those wicks. I would recommend leaving them very long, tuck them down, and I even leave them long enough to kind of like have to form like an S shape, and I want a nice wide end of my wick stuck right up there, right up against that wicking slot there. So it's not just about having a lot of cotton in there, and you can't just stuff it down. You have to kind of like shape it around with a small screwdriver. I'll do another video on this, but I wanted to mention that. If it's flooding on you, and make sure you definitely close the airflow when you're filling that tank with juice, when you've got the RBA section in there. If it's flooding on you, that's why. You either left the airflow open, or you didn't have the cotton go through the coil, down and around in front. You have to shape it in there. You have to make sure it goes down and is blocking that channel. And sufficiently enough, not just the ends of it tucked in there, sufficiently enough, blocking the whole thing, that the juice, it'll keep the juice out, and it just draws it in when there's heat on the coil. Then it works fine. Okay, so now I've had this sitting here for a couple of minutes while I've been talking. I'm going to close the airflow. Before I even hit power, I'm pulling. No power, just pulling with airflow closed, and I get a little bit of the flavor of the juice in my mouth. So I know it's wicking right. I'm not there yet. Now open up the juice, the airflow. Am I getting sufficient air? Yes. Am I tasting a little bit of juice? Very, very slightly, yes. Not like juice is hitting me, but I'm getting the flavor of the juice. This happens to be Dolomite Strawberries and Cream from Tally Ho. I'm getting a little bit of that flavor in my mouth. Okay, so I'm just pulling, no power, just airflow past it. I'm going to start, this is the 0.25 coil. I'm going to start it at 30 watts. It's not going to taste good at 30 watts. That's not the point. Thank you, Sigali. Could you cooperate, please? And it's not focusing. Take my word for it, please. 30 watts. Think about it this way. It's wintertime and it's cold outside and you're starting up your car engine. Do you just jam the key, start the engine, start driving it? No, you warm the car up first. Warm the coils up first. So just a little bit of power. That's it. It's the first time they've had electricity through them. Just a little bit. A couple of puffs. The heat will draw some juice in. All right, am I laying my finger on the button? Am I trying to take full hits? No, just some little mouth puffs. At 30 watts. Yes, it does taste like dry laundry. That's because there's cotton breaking in. Now, if you want to really do this right, you give it 10 minutes, 20 minutes, a half an hour, just sitting there soaking in. Am I sending the wrong message? No, you can do it this way also, but I hope you see how patient I'm being. At 30 watts, just a couple of puffs. Now 35 watts. Quick puffs. That's it. No dry hits yet. I'm just letting it heat up the metal of the coils and pull some juice in. Okay. Giving it a few seconds in between. Now you can even cover up the airflow and pull some unpowered pulls through. Now I'll come back and show you how to ramp it up more. Okay, so we're breaking in the new Crown tank coil and we're being very patient with it. And the reason I'm walking you through this is because I want you to see, I've had a lot of people ask me this question, and if you prime this wrong, you'll destroy the coil. It's not Uwell's fault. It's not your fault either. You just didn't know. But so that's what you do. You do some little small puffs like that. And in between, let it saturate. You're not always going to have to vape like this. Right now I am unpowered, just holding the airflow closed, putting some vacuum. It helps to pull the juice into that tightly packed, dense cotton. All right, so I did a bunch of puffs at 30 watts, a bunch of puffs at 35 watts. Go to 40 watts. It still tastes like cotton. I'm still not doing lung inhales. And I'm still giving it time to absorb. I'm using a pretty high VG juice. This is probably 80-20, 80 VG, 20 PG. I don't buy 50-50 or 60-40 juice. It's just not my thing. I don't like the PG. So I only vape on like high VG juice, and the Crown Tank handles it just fine. Now, move it up to 50 watts. Still some pretty short pulls. I'm going to catch it when there's bubbles. You're starting to see some better vapor production. I'm starting to taste more flavor. Oh yeah. Now it's more flavor than it is cotton. I usually like to vape the Crown Tank on the 0.25 coils at around 70 watts, although I have enjoyed it at 100 to 120 watts for weeks on end. I'm still keeping these puffs short. So that was at 50 watts. Go up to 55 watts. Do I do this every time? Yes, I do this every time. On a new coil. It's worth the investment. You invest the time and be patient with that new coil. It's going to last you 2 to 3 weeks, unless you're vaping on some cotton-killing juice. I'm babbling a lot because this is a process that requires some patience. Yeah, there's some juices that are notorious for deteriorating cotton. Smurf from Vaporgate, one of my favorite juices of all time. It's a blue raspberry, and it's very rough on cotton. It eats cotton. It's not the metal of the coils that's going to go out on you. It's the cotton that will eventually just get so gunky and so yucked up, and also from the heat, it'll get so chewed up that eventually that's why the coil goes bad. But on these, it's like 22 gauge stainless steel, 316 food grade stainless steel. It's not the wire that burns out. I'm getting some very nice flavor now, 55 watts. You're starting to see vapor production that's decent. I still haven't taken a full long inhale yet. It's very dehydrating, especially when you're breaking in a new coil. Now I'm at 60 watts. I still have cotton taste going on, about 50-50 with the juice flavor. At no point should it ever have tasted burnt. It has not been tasting burnt to me. It's just that cotton breaking in. And it's organic cotton, so I'm not worried about any, I don't know, bleach or chemicals in it. All right. 66 watts. Now I'm getting more juice than cotton flavor. Taking long inhales, but pretty quick and shallow ones. And I feel it's wicking correctly. Interestingly enough, my Sigali is down to 41%, and it keeps cutting out on me. So, time to change the batteries in the Sigali. Imran will be very happy to see that I'm using their batteries. I don't have enough data and information to do a whole review, but I am using the Imran 2500 milliamp hour, and they say these are 40 amp. I'm not a guy that puts batteries on testing equipment. They don't hit as hard as Sony's, they don't hit as hard as Samsung's. Decide amongst yourselves. But they're good. There's nothing wrong with them. Imran didn't pay me or give me batteries to say that. I bought those. Uwell doesn't pay me to tell you guys that their tank is the fucking bomb. They did send me free tanks though. But if I didn't like it, I wouldn't be sitting here telling you it's the bomb. All right, back on with the Sigali. I do like this Sigali though. It's a pretty handsome looking mod if you ask me. I like it. I like the IPv4S. This one goes to 150. And I'm going to use that nickel coil maybe later on today, maybe tomorrow after a couple of tanks of juice on this nice new, look at that, black. Okay. The more time you give this to sit and wick and just let that cotton saturate in the beginning when you're first priming it, the better. If you have the patience to let it sit overnight, that's the best. But most people don't have that patience. But just don't go cranking this thing up. So many times I've had people, because I did a review video on it, and they'll like message me privately and say, "Oh, how come the coils are burning?" The coils are not burning. Somebody's burning them, and it's you. Okay, so you just watched me go through this laborious process. What's the payback? The payback is incredibly intense, delicious, dense vapor production with flavor that's phenomenal. I rarely even taste that juice taste that good, even when I'm dripping. In this tank, it's incredible. And that's at 70 watts. Don't go run up the ladder to 120 watts with this thing without. I'm not even going to take it any higher until I get maybe halfway through the tank. You will not necessarily see bubbles escaping every single time you draw it like the Kanger tank. Such a nice vape. Such a nice vape. And let me just show you again that nice black finish on the stainless steel, food grade stainless steel. You know how I know it's food grade? Well, because there's a picture of a fork, a spoon, chopsticks, and a cooking wok. But other than that, I've spoken with the company, and if you didn't know, those are the coils. It's a dual parallel vertical coil. It's a brilliant design. The flavor is incredible. It takes a good quarter of a tank to half a tank to break this thing in, and some patience, and just ramp it up slowly, like when you're starting your car in the winter. And if you live somewhere warm like Florida or California where you don't have to warm up your car engine, I'm not going to say I hate you, but I'm very envious because I'm in New York and it gets cold. And we learn it takes 5-10 minutes to warm up your car engine unless you want to crack an engine block. So just imagine the concept mechanically. You're heating up metal for the first time in these wires. You're also getting heat into this cotton that you want to last you as long as possible. Be slow about it. Be patient. Okay, it's a little bit of coil foreplay before you're before you get the idea. Matter of fact, that's the name of this video. Coil Foreplay and the Crown Uwell tank. And now it comes in black. That is so sexy. That's fucking awesome. I just love that. So some thoughts on that. It's not a polished chrome, like mirrored chrome. It's not like that. It's brushed satin, I believe would be the terminology. And by the way, this thing gets warm. It gets very hot at 100 to 120 watts, but you should expect that of any device at that high wattage and power. The finish on this metal, it's not like painted on there. I don't even feel like it's powder baked. I don't know. And I really don't want to go grab a knife or something and start playing with this, but it's not flaky at all. The inside surfaces are also this black stainless steel, even inside, like chambers that are exposed to the juice. Very nicely done. The O-rings are still clear. Does not have black O-rings. Overall, very nicely done, very elegant. This is a functional tank. This tank is designed to be the best it can be, as simply as a tank can be, to give you the best vaping experience possible. And I would agree that they have done that. Yeah, and the reason I don't feel that this was like powder coated or baked on is I don't see any, there's no holidays, there's no thin spots. I don't see any flaws in the surface coat coloring. All right, so thanks for listening, thanks for watching, thanks for patiently observing as I break in a brand new 0.25 coil on the Crown tank. All flavor, no cotton, it's broken in. It took me maybe a mil of juice to break that in, and it's good to go now. This is as good as it gets. That flavor is incredible. It's like dripping in a tank. All right, guys, now you've seen the black finish Uwell Crown tank. Thank you very much for watching my channel, and have a great day.